Imagine a guy turning $20,000 into, like, $80 million.
Right.
You'd probably assume he's this, Wall Street quantitative genius sitting in some corner office staring at 6 monitors full of algorithmic trading
Yeah,
models.
crunching the numbers all day.
Exactly. But his actual strategy, he's literally scrolling through middle school TikTok comments about squishy toys.
Which is just wild to think about.
It really is. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at the cheat codes to the global economy. We're going to break down 2 highly contrasting frameworks for navigating what is, let's be honest, an increasingly chaotic financial world.
Yeah, and we are pulling from 2 deeply fascinating sources today that approach this exact same problem, but from opposite ends of the universe, basically.
Right.
First, we have an interview with Chris Camello on the My First Million channel. He outlines this methodology he calls observational investing. And then on the flip side, we have a presentation from macro analyst Raoul Pal on his channel, The Journeyman. And he's unveiling this massive, highly theoretical framework that he calls the universal code.
I mean, the juxtaposition here is just incredible. You have an investor making these massive financial bets based on viral videos, and then a macro analyst attempting to define the fundamental physics of human consciousness.
Yeah, it's quite the spectrum.
But our mission for this deep dive is to synthesize these 2 wildly different approaches. We want to show you how Camillo's ground-up cultural observations and Pal's top-down universal frameworks both serve as roadmaps.
Right, roadmaps to understanding where human behavior is going and ultimately where the money is headed.
Exactly. So let's dive into Chris Camillo's world first, because he completely rejects traditional finance.
Oh, entirely.
I mean, no technical analysis, no fundamental analysis. He's looking for what he calls social arbitrage.
Yeah, he is basically operating on this principle of information asymmetry. Camillo is constantly searching for shifts in the world. So changes in consumer behavior, technological adoption, or just cultural trends in general. And he's trying to detect them well before the broader market actually prices them into a stock.
So he's looking for that gap.
Exactly. His core belief is that before a critical mass of people change their spending habits, they talk about it online.
Which makes perfect sense. I mean, instead of crunching spreadsheets, he spends hours every night just reading Reddit forums and scrolling TikTok.
Yeah.
And a perfect illustration of this in action is his trade on the Vegas Sphere.
Oh, that's a great example.
Right. So the Sphere is this massive, incredibly expensive entertainment venue in Las Vegas, and it is a publicly traded company. But when it first opened, Wall Street was really skeptical.
They hadn't quite nailed the product market fit yet.
Exactly, and the stock price definitely reflected that uncertainty.
But then they hosted a screening of the classic movie, The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And they didn't just play the movie on a screen. They used AI to enhance the visuals for that massive wraparound screen they have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they added all these 4D effects, like actual wind blowing through the theater during the tornado scene. It was just this incredibly immersive experience.
And Camilla saw this blowing up on TikTok.
Yep.
He's seeing users from, Europe leaving comments saying they were actively booking international flights to Vegas just to sit in this theater and watch The Wizard of Oz.
Which is a huge signal.
Right. He realized management had finally cracked the code for this venue. So he bought into the stock around $20, and I think it eventually multiplied something like 6 times in value.
Which is just a phenomenally solid trade. But his strategy goes far beyond massive entertainment venues.
Oh, yeah, things get a lot weirder.
He applied the exact same cultural radar to an elementary school craze over a toy called Nido.
Nido. It's essentially a premium goop ball, right?
Yeah, basically.
But kids were going absolutely crazy for it, trying to find rare variants, trading them in the cafeteria like they were Pokemon cards.
Right, and stores could not keep the inventory on the shelves.
But okay, here is where the actual mechanics of the trade get complicated. Nido itself is a tiny private company.
Yeah, you can't just buy shares of it.
Exactly. You can't just open a brokerage app and buy shares in a middle school toy craze. So how does he actually monetize that observation?
Well, this is where he finds the back door into the market. So Nido is owned by a slightly larger private holding company.
Okay.
And that company, in turn, is publicly traded under the ticker symbol GAIN.
GAIN. Got it.
Right. And GAIN is traditionally this very slow, boring holding company. They generate predictable earnings from interest and dividends across roughly 27 small, unremarkable businesses.
Very steady, very boring.
Exactly. They had never held a hyper-viral consumer product in their portfolio before.
So Camilla sees this and starts doing the math. He actually uses AI to help estimate the sheer volume of these squishy toys moving off the shelves.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, and he calculates that if Nito can just maintain this level of demand through the holiday season, it could move the needle so dramatically that the boring parent company's valuation might jump like 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to drop between $500,000 and $1 million into this obscure holding company. And I have to pause here.
Okay, what's up?
Because investing up to $1 million based on a viral squishy toy sounds like pure, unadulterated gambling.
I mean, it looks exactly like gambling if you evaluate it through the lens of traditional finance, for sure.
Right.
But Camillo relies on this concept called information parity. He isn't just gambling on a coin toss here. He is trading on a temporary information imbalance.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
So he is betting that he possesses a piece of highly impactful information, specifically that this particular toy is flying off the shelves at a historic rate.
Right.
And the institutional investors who are currently pricing the stock again,
Yeah.
they simply do not know that yet.
Because Wall Street analysts aren't hanging out in middle school cafeterias observing what kids are trading.
Exactly. They're sitting in offices waiting for quarterly earnings reports.
And that delay is his entire edge.
Yeah. And the most crucial part of this entire strategy is knowing exactly when to exit the trade.
Right, you can't just hold it forever.
No. The exit window opens the exact moment information parity is reached. Meaning the knowledge you have is now common knowledge. Your edge has dropped back to zero.
So the minute the Wall Street Journal publishes an article about the toy craze, or some analyst issues a revised earnings estimate based on those holiday sales, Camillo sells.
He is out immediately. The market has now priced that information into the stock. So whether he made money or lost money on the position, the foundational thesis is played out.
Wow.
And he exercises just incredible discipline in walking away at that moment.
And over 17 years, he has executed about 80 of these high conviction trades, right? Generating that $80 million from a $20,000 starting point.
It's an insane track record.
It really is. But right now, his focus has shifted to something vastly larger than consumer toys. He is currently executing what he calls a mega trade.
Yeah, this is where things get really intense.
He has concentrated roughly 70% of his entire portfolio using a mix of stock and options into Amazon.
I mean, 70%. That is a staggering level of concentration risk for any investor, let alone someone playing with tens of millions of dollars.
Especially considering Amazon is one of the largest, most heavily analyzed companies on Earth.
Right?
How do you find an information asymmetry in a multi-trillion-dollar behemoth that every analyst in the world covers daily?
Well, his thesis here is rooted in his macroeconomic view of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Camillo believes that infinite, practically free intelligence is going to be the absolute biggest transformative shift in human history.
I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah, but he is betting that Amazon is quietly becoming the physical nucleus of the global AI infrastructure.
So it sounds like while everyone else is trying to strike gold by building flashy AI software applications, Camillo is putting his life savings into the only shovel and pickaxe factory in town.
That is a perfect analogy. He points directly to their capital expenditures. I mean, Amazon is pouring $200 billion into AI infrastructure.
$200 billion! That's astronomical.
And their custom Trainium AI chips are projected to generate $50 billion in revenue alone. Plus, they hold a massive 15% stake in Anthropic, which is one of the leading AI labs in the world.
Right, the makers of Claude.
Exactly. But the true differentiator for him is their physical logistics.
You mean like the delivery vans, the distribution centers, the warehouses?
Yeah. Amazon has spent 2 decades building the most complex physical logistics network on the planet.
Okay.
So when you introduce infinite frictionless intelligence and eventually embodied intelligence in the form of robotics into that physical network, the productivity and efficiency gains will just be astronomical.
And Camillo believes the market is entirely too clouded by day-to-day retail noise to appreciate the scale of this multi-year infrastructure shift.
Exactly. They're looking at quarterly e-commerce sales while he's looking at a global infrastructure takeover.
But still, holding 70% of your net worth in a single tech stock is terrifying. I mean, most people would lose sleep over a 5% drop in the broader market.
Oh, absolutely.
How does someone stomach that level of concentration risk without panicking and selling at the worst possible time?
So this is the part of his strategy that is actually highly applicable to anyone, even if you aren't a multimillionaire.
Okay, I'm listening.
He advocates for establishing what he calls a Big money account.
A big money account.
Yeah, this is a dedicated portfolio where you take highly concentrated risks, aiming for life-changing gains. But the secret is entirely in how you fund it.
Meaning you don't use your rent money.
Exactly. You do not use your rent money, and you absolutely do not touch your retirement savings.
So where does the money come from?
You fund it through daily lifestyle trade-offs.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Like you decide to mow your own lawn instead of paying a landscaping service. Or you push your haircut out to 5 weeks instead of 4.
Or you delay buying a new television for 6 months until the price drops, and you take that $200 difference and deposit it into the big money account.
Yes, it acts as found money. When you fund a high-risk account with money, you essentially conjure it out of small sacrifices. It completely removes the psychological terror of losing it.
Because you didn't really need it to survive anyway.
Exactly. Mixing your risk capital with your safety net basically guarantees you will never have the psychological fortitude to hold a volatile trade when the market gets bumpy.
That makes a lot of sense. But there is a sobering warning attached to this whole pursuit of extreme wealth in the source material, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Let's say you hit the big trade. You reach the stratosphere of the ultra-wealthy. Camillo is surprisingly candid about the dark side of winning the financial game.
Very candid. He argues that extreme wealth can actually breed misery.
Right, because it isolates you from the rest of humanity.
Yeah. When money can instantly solve any problem or buy literally any experience, the natural daily friction that connects us to other people just evaporates.
You start flying on private jets and dining at $5,000 charity galas.
And your lifelong friends simply can't keep up with that lifestyle.
So if you want them around, you have to foot the bill.
Which fundamentally alters the power dynamic of the relationship. It's not a normal friendship anymore.
He actually shared a crazy story about a friend who purchased an 18,000 square foot mega mansion.
Oh yeah, this story was wild.
Right. Not only did this friend isolate himself from his old neighborhood, but he was physically disconnected from his own children inside the house.
Because they were living in entirely different wings of the estate.
Which is just sad. You spend your entire life trying to beat the financial game, and the ultimate prize is profound social disconnection.
It really highlights a critical vulnerability we all have. Humans require authentic connection to survive.
Definitely. Now, Camillo is mapping this human behavior from the ground up, right? Reading TikTok comments, observing toy crazes to predict where society is going.
Yeah, very bottom up.
But if you zoom all the way out, past consumer trends and human psychology, some analysts argue that this cultural operating system Camillo is tapping into isn't just human nature.
Right.
It is a fundamental law of physics, which is exactly what Raoul Pal is trying to prove with his universal code theory.
Where Pal takes us into deep, deep philosophical territory here.
He really does.
He basically argues that the universe itself operates as a blank computer. And the underlying operating system running on this hardware is consciousness.
Okay, that's a big concept.
It is. He's saying everything we observe, biological evolution, the formation of markets, technological advancement, it's all just different forms of compute running on that master system.
So to put that in perspective, he's suggesting that a rock, a pine tree, a human being, and a generative AI model are all just different applications running on the exact same universal computer trying to solve the same cosmic equations.
Exactly. And they are all governed by a specific set of physical laws. Powell outlines 4 core rules of this universal operating system.
Okay, let's break these down.
Let's start with Law 1, which he calls the master gradient.
The master gradient.
Yeah. Basically, the universe is constantly trying to maximize intelligence per unit of energy.
So it's an ultimate efficiency game.
Right. The universe wants the maximum possible output while burning the minimum amount of fuel.
And we see this perfectly demonstrated in human biology, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. The human brain runs 86 billion neurons, processing incredibly complex emotional and logical tasks, all on about 20 watts of energy.
20 watts? That's like a dim light bulb.
Yeah, it is a biological masterpiece of energy-to-intelligence optimization. And we see the exact same drive in our technology, relentlessly pushing to create faster processors that consume less electricity.
Which naturally leads to Law 2, compression.
Yep. For the universe to get smarter and more efficient, it has to compress information into denser, more portable formats.
Can you give an example of that?
Well, biological evolution is a prime example of compression. Think about DNA. It compresses the incredibly complex blueprints for a living organism into a microscopic double helix.
Wow, okay.
And when the universe successfully compresses information like that, it unlocks a phase transition, Basically, a massive leap forward in capability.
Right, like how humans developed language, which compresses complex abstract thoughts into audible syllables.
Exactly. And then we developed written text, compressing language into symbols that can outlast the actual speaker.
And eventually we developed money. Money compresses economic value, human labor, and trust into a highly portable token.
Yeah, every single act of compression allows the system to scale up. Which brings us to Law 3, coherence.
Coherence. This is where things start to actually interact, right?
Yes, coherence is when independent units align to form a single, larger, more capable system.
So single cells align and cooperate to form a complex human body.
Or individual buyers and sellers interact to form a highly complex, self-regulating financial market.
Or individual AI agents network together to form a broader superintelligence.
Exactly. Coherence is how the universe builds larger structures.
But how does the universe decide which structures survive and which ones fall apart?
That brings us to the final one, Law 4, mimetic signaling.
Mimetic signaling. It sounds like internet meme culture.
It does, but PAL means it in a much broader evolutionary sense. It is the ultimate selection mechanism.
Okay, how so?
If a package of information, and that could be a religious ideology, an open source software code base, or, a viral TikTok video about a squishy toy, if it resonates with the network and builds coherence among the nodes, it survives and spreads.
And if it fails to resonate?
It is discarded by the universe.
Okay, I mean, this is a beautiful philosophical framework. It really is.
Yeah.
But I struggle to see how a theory that categorizes a rock as a geological hard drive applies to the actual economy. How does the concept of cosmic coherence help us understand, say, the stock market or inflation?
That's the leap, right. But Powell grounds this massive theory into a tangible macroeconomic equation.
Okay.
He calls it the everything code formula for gross domestic product.
GDP.
Right. He states that economic growth, or GDP, is driven by population growth plus productivity growth plus debt growth.
Okay, so let's translate that into his universal terms. Population represents the raw compute capacity, right?
Yes. It is the sheer number of biological nodes people operating in the human network.
And productivity represents the intelligence factor.
Right. It measures how much output those nodes can generate per unit of energy. When a society is innovating, population and productivity compound naturally.
And the economy thrives in a state of high coherence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what happens when population plateaus or productivity stagnates?
That's where the third variable, debt, comes into play.
Yes. Debt is the artificial energy injected into the system to prevent a total collapse.
Wow.
Think about it. If a society stops growing its population or fails to innovate, the societal structure threatens to decohere, to fall apart.
So to maintain the illusion of coherence, governments just pump massive amounts of debt into the economy.
Precisely. It artificially holds the system together, but it mathematically debases the underlying currency in the process.
I mean, this perfectly frames the boom and bust economic cycles we have been living through over the last few decades.
It really does. But Powell warns that this entire historical formula is on the verge of being completely upended.
Because of AI?
Yes. Driven by that very first law, the need to maximize intelligence per unit of energy, the universe is actively shifting its primary compute away from biological humans.
He points to an event he calls the economic singularity, right? Estimating its arrival around the year 2030.
Yeah, 2030, which is right around the corner. For roughly 200,000 years, human beings have been the apex compute on this planet.
We were the most energy-efficient intelligence engine available.
But that era is rapidly closing.
Because artificial intelligence is simply faster, more scalable, and ultimately more efficient.
Exactly. Powell argues that our biological clock speed is being ruthlessly replaced by digital clock speed.
And the output of this digital compute is accelerating at a pace that our slow biological human institutions, like our legal systems, our regulations, our social safety nets, simply cannot absorb.
They just can't keep up.
Yeah.
This speed differential explains why everything in the world feels so deeply chaotic right now.
The legacy systems are buckling under the sheer velocity of the new compute.
Yeah. As AI assumes control over economic output, the societal structures built entirely around human labor will just become obsolete. We are transitioning into an agent-driven economy where AI models plan, execute, and iterate without requiring human intervention.
But if machines take over the heavy lifting of the global economy, where do human beings fit into the equation?
This is exactly where our two vastly different sources collide in the most fascinating way.
Right, because Chris Camillo, the investor who's betting 70% of his portfolio on the AI infrastructure rollout, he has a massive prediction about the human psychological response to this impending singularity.
Yeah, and his prediction centers entirely on a concept he calls the human premium.
The human premium. Camillo believes that as AI makes every logistical aspect of life perfectly efficient, automated, and basically frictionless, human beings are going to desperately crave authenticity.
We're going to starve for real, messy, unoptimized human connection.
And he is backing this prediction with his latest venture. He's actually launched a podcast incubator based in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, and he's specifically focusing on female solo creators, funding and developing their shows.
Which seems so disconnected from AI infrastructure until you hear his thesis. He believes the podcasting medium is still in its infancy and it is going to evolve dramatically.
It won't just be two people casually talking into microphones forever.
Right. He predicts podcasts will become highly programmatic, heavily produced operations, structured almost like reality television or sitcoms.
Yeah, they will be intentionally designed to fulfill our desperate psychological need to be reminded of what is real and what is actually human.
Connecting this back to Pal's physical laws is just stunning to me. Pal argues that AI will inevitably run the logistical compute of the global economy. And Camillo's direct response to that reality is to heavily fund human storytelling, betting that society will be starving for genuine emotion.
They are diagnosing the exact same societal transition from completely opposite viewpoints. It's brilliant.
And Pal makes it explicitly clear that humans won't just be discarded as obsolete hardware.
No, not at all.
We possess a unique feature that machines currently cannot replicate. He calls it qualia.
Qualia, it is the subjective, conscious experience of reality.
Right. It is the ability to feel heartbreak, to experience awe, to laugh at an absurd situation.
Pal views qualia as a highly optimized, incredibly valuable form of biological compute.
Because an AI can calculate the trajectory of a tear falling down a cheek, but it cannot experience the grief that caused it.
Exactly. And Camillo is literally betting his next fortune on the skyrocketing market value of that exact human experience.
So, what does this massive paradigm shift mean for you, the listener? Whether you prefer observing granular TikTok trends from the bottom up, like Chris Camillo, or viewing the global economy from the top down through Raoul Pal's universal laws of compute, the underlying takeaway is identical.
The operating system of our reality is upgrading. The transition from biological speed to digital speed is happening, and it's happening rapidly.
And navigating this shift doesn't require a Wall Street pedigree.
No, it requires acute observation. Look for the information asymmetries in your own daily environment.
Establish a big money account funded through minor, painless sacrifices. Position yourself to take a calculated swing when you spot a cultural shift before the broader market catches on.
And perhaps most importantly, recognize the escalating value of your own qualia.
As the surrounding world becomes infinitely intelligent, perfectly efficient, and largely artificial, your innate humanity, your messy, authentic ability to connect and feel is going to become your most scarce and valuable asset.
It forces a profound reframing of what the future actually holds. It moves us away from fear and toward a massive reevaluation of the human experience.
It completely flips the narrative. And I want to leave you with one final, slightly mind-bending thought to chew on today.
Let's hear it.
If Raoul Pal is correct that mimetic signaling is the universal mechanism that decides what information survives and evolves, and Chris Camillo is correct that TikTok comments dictate the financial future of the stock market, is your daily social media feed actually the universe's operating system updating its code in real time?
Wow.
Every time you hit the like button, every time you share a video, you might just be acting as a single biological neuron firing in a planetary brain, deciding what the future looks like. Think about that the next time you find yourself mindlessly scrolling.